Hi everyone, I hope this isn't backlit. I thought I would film in a different location today. I quite like the background, colourful wardrobe and all of that. Today, I wanted to sit down and talk to you about some books that are coming out later this year that I am really excited about. If you have been watching my videos recently, you may have seen my most anticipated book releases of 2021 video that I uploaded in December, which I will link up here and down below. But it's the 1st of March and there are even more books that have come onto my radar that I can't wait to get to, I would like to give a shout out to, and so I'm making another one. So many books and so little time, am I right? I will insert covers of any books that I don't have to hand. I mean, I actually only have, I think, 2 of them in physical form. The rest I don't have a proof of yet, don't have finished copies of, so I'll put their covers on the screen. I will tell you what their synopsis says and I will list them in the description box down below. I would love to know what books you are most excited about that are coming out this year. Please let me know in a comment. Let me open this PDF that I've made with a list of all the things and let's talk about them. Firstly, I have 2 books that came out last week. This one I included in my last haul, so I'll just briefly hold it up here. This is Growing Up Disabled in Australia, edited by Findlay. I'm hoping it's going to be like Disability Visibility, edited by Alice Wong, which I read last month and really loved. I mean, it is what the title says it is. This is a series of essays by disabled Australian writers. Keen to get to that one. And in a similar vein, this came out last week too. This is Cusp, Feminist Writings on Bodies, Myth and Magic. This is published by Ache magazine. My book trolley is just here. So let me grab Ache magazine. Here's one I made earlier. So this focuses on the body. The editors asked writers to explore the ways in which illness and pain cause estrangement from one's own body, and this collection was born. It says that bodies grow and transform into new shapes, new beings, and new identities. Houses and hospitals suffocate. A witch fights for suffrage. A doctor behaves cruelly. A patient is forced to commit strange acts. An angel checks her emails. Bodies bruise, bleed, overflow, and misbehave. This has pieces in by Charlene Teo and Rebecca Tomas, as well as lots of other people as well. So that's number 2 on my list. I've grouped these in order of publication, at least very roughly. Don't hold me exactly to that. So the next one on my list is A Blood Condition. Actually, let me move over here so that I can insert covers. A Blood Condition by Kayo Chigonyi, who is the author of Kumakanda, which is a poetry collection that came out a couple of years ago. I loved it. It was the year that I was judging the Somerset Maugham Award and we gave it one of those prizes because his writing is phenomenal. It's got so much nostalgia to it. He was writing specifically about growing up in the 90s and some of his poems were framed like mixtapes, which was a really lovely touch. He discusses race and identity and rite of passage as a young man. And this one says, A Blood Condition tells a story of inheritance, the people, places, cultures and memories that form us. Kayo Chigonyi explores how distance and time, nations and a century's history can collapse within a body, our past continuous in our present. Then on the 1st of April, see, I've already messed up the dates because Kayo's is coming out on the 22nd of April, whatever. On the 1st of April, a picture book is coming out by James Catchpole, which is illustrated by, I can't remember, let me check that. It's illustrated by Karen George and it's called What Happened to You. I've already read this. I was sent an early copy PDF of it because it's right up my street and I provided an author quote for it because it's all the things that I'm passionate about. Plus it's a really great book. This is about Joe, who is a young boy who loves going to the local playground. He enjoys pretending that he's a pirate. He enjoys pretending that there are sharks on the floor, that he's running away from a lion. But constantly when he goes to the playground and elsewhere, people come up to him and say, what happened to you? And he feels like he has to come up with this answer and that makes him very cross. Curiosity is brilliant, but sometimes it is misplaced. And this is a book that's all about that, about the joys of make-believe and playing games together, but not putting people in vulnerable positions and asking them questions that you don't really need to know the answer to if you're going to be playing a game in a playground. This is an Own Voices book. I will link James's Instagram in the description box down below. He runs it with his family. It's fantastic. And As a disabled person who was asked so many times, what is wrong with your hands when I was little, and feeling like I needed to come up with imaginative answers to satisfy people's curiosity because being born that way didn't quite seem to cut it for some people, I felt this book in my soul, and I think it's really wonderful, and it will help adults have conversations with their non-disabled kids about what's appropriate, not appropriate, and it'll also empower disabled children to realise that they don't have to come up with answers all the time to satisfy strangers' curiosities. Also coming out on the 1st of April is Sarah Westcott's second collection. I think it's her second collection, which is called Bloom. I adored her book Slant Light, which came out in 2016, I think, or 2015. It is such amazing nature poetry. There is a poem in it called Inklings that I think about at least once a week. It's fantastic. So I'm very, very keen to read more of her work. Another book that's coming out on the 1st of April, and one that I'm excited about but also feel a little bit cautious about, is The Sleeping Beauties by Suzanne O'Sullivan. She is a neurologist, and this is a book about mysterious illnesses. Not just undiagnosed illnesses, but illnesses that affect communities of people and that there don't appear to be answers for, in almost a folklore type way. That's why I'm drawn to this. Think of The Red Shoes, which was inspired by the dancing plagues, which historians and scientists still really can't explain. People would dance in the streets until they died. It's really, really, really strange. So this one looks at more I think more modern phenomena like that. So it says, in Sweden, refugee children fall asleep for months and years at a time. In upstate New York, high school students develop contagious seizures. In the US Embassy in Cuba, employees complain of headaches and memory loss after hearing strange noises in the night. These disparate cases are some of the most remarkable diagnostic mysteries of the 21st century, as both doctors and scientists have struggled both to explain them within the boundaries of medical science and, more crucially, to treat them. Oh, and another one that is coming out on the 1st of April. Why is everything coming out on the 1st of April? This is a short story collection called The Dangers of Smoking in Bed by Mariana Enriquez. It says, welcome to Buenos Aires, a city thrumming with murderous intentions and morbid desires, where missing children come back from the dead and unearthed bones carry terrible curses. These brilliant, unsettling tales of revenge, witchcraft, fetishes, disappearances, and urban madness spill over with women and girls whose dark inclinations will lead them over the edge. Doesn't that sound brilliant? Sounds really brilliant. On the 15th of April, we've got a new novel by Leone Ross. I loved her short story in Outsiders, which was an anthology that came out last year that I was part of. This one is called This One Sky. I really don't know much about it at all. The blurb is very short, but because I've read her books, well, her writing before and enjoyed it, I would like to check this one out. It says, as the sun rises, two star-crossed lovers try to find their way back to each other in this one single day. When night falls, all have been given a gift, and many are no longer the same. The sky is pink, and some wonder if it will ever be blue again. This is giving me vibes of The Age of Miracles by Karen Thompson Walker, which is one of my favourite apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic dystopian books. Oh hey, this is editing me, and yes, I am sitting on my bed. I realised that I forgot one, which is coming out in March, and it's called Disturbing the Body. It says, from illness to major medical operations, childbearing to pain and chronic illness to disability, Disturbing the Body sets out to explore the many ways women feel powerless and at odds with their own bodies. In a dozen stories reflecting memoir, experience, and body horror, this is an anthology full of heart that is not for the faint-hearted. I know that it's got stories in here by Erinison Okajie and Louise Kenwood, Abby Hines, lots of other different people as well. I will link that in the description box down below. Then coming out on the 22nd of April is a new collection from Tishani Doshi. I loved her book, Girls Are Coming Out of the Woods, and this one is called A God at the Door. It says that these draw on the extraordinary minutiae of nature and humanity to elevate the marginalised. There's a playful spikiness to be found in some of these poems, and there are also gem-like poems such as I Carry My Uterus in a Small Suitcase, which is an amazing title for a poem. Her poetry bestows power on the powerless, deploys beauty to heal trauma, and enables the voices of the oppressed to be heard with piercing clarity. On the 6th of May, Melissa Harrison's new book is coming out, and she is one of those authors who I've been meaning to read for ages. I have a couple of her books on my shelf. I know that she writes about nature very, very beautifully. She also has a podcast that I need to listen to, which again is all about nature. And this is her first middle grade book, which is called By Ash, Oak and Thorn. And the cover has been designed by Lauren O'Hara of the O'Hara sisters, and I adore their illustrations. This says this is about 3 tiny ancient beings called Moss, Burnett and Columbus, once revered as the guardians of the wild world, who wake from winter hibernation in their beloved ash tree home. When it is destroyed, they set off on an adventure to find more of their kind, a journey which takes them into the deep countryside and then into the heart of the city. Helped along the way by birds and animals, the trio search for a way to survive and thrive in a precious yet disappearing world. Any books that sound like that, I immediately just associate with The Animals of Farthingwood, which still owns my heart all these years later. Then on the 13th of March, and I actually have a copy of this one here, this one is coming out. This is Painting Time by Melita Kerangal. I loved her novel The Heart or Men the Living, which was translated from the French by Sam Taylor. I enjoyed her book Cook, but not quite as much. This one sounds like I could really, really, really love it. And I've just realised it says on the back that it's actually coming out on the 18th of March. I don't know if the other date was an old one or maybe it's coming out in the States in May. But this one is about a group of art students and the friendships that they form and also the romances that they have together. It's set in Brussels. I'm not sure of the date that it's set, but the heroine is called Paula Cast, and it is about the friendships that she's making at this art school, but then also about the art she's making and the history of art. I feel like this might be quite an ambitious novel. It says that it goes all the way through the history of art to prehistoric cave paintings. Her experiences transcend art, gradually revealing something of her own inner world and the secret, unreachable desires of the heart. I suppose with Men the Living, on the surface that was a book about transplantation, but really it was about what makes us human. So perhaps this does a similar thing, and we're not talking about transplanting organs, but we're talking about what we create as humans and what that says about who we are. Very excited about it. This one isn't translated by Sam Taylor. This one is translated by Jessica Moore. I then have a few more poetry collections. On the 27th of May, Stone Fruit by Rebecca Perry is coming out. I loved her book, Beauty. She has such an exquisite way of writing. I asked her to write a poem for the beginning of my book, the bookshop book, because I love her work so much. This one says it is a collection of 3 distinct parts. Stone Fruit nonetheless speaks across many common preoccupations: memory, grief, the fallibility of the physical form, our connection to and place in the world, natural and otherwise. And on the same day, Low by Chrissy Williams is coming out as well. This is a new collection which is at its heart a series of poems about the desolation of miscarriage. These poems try to understand the many different means that we use to come close to articulating and avoiding this experience. Drawing on the language of comedy, improvisation, drag and clown, Low interrogates humour's role in enacting the possibility of change. Then on the 8th of July, there is a book that's coming out that is giving me Sally Rooney vibes a little bit. It's called Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen. Meet Gilda. She cannot stop thinking about death. Desperate for relief from her anxious mind and alienated from her oppressive family, she responds to a flyer for free therapy at a local church and finds herself abruptly hired to replace the deceased receptionist, Grace. It's not the most obvious job. She's queer and an atheist for starters, and so in between trying to learn maths, hiding her new maybe girlfriend, and conducting an amateur investigation into Grace's death, Gilda must avoid revealing the truth of her mortifying existence. It's supposed to be really, really funny. I'm getting Atesha Moshfegh vibes, I'm getting Sally Rooney vibes, a blend of warmth, deadpan humour, and pitch-perfect observations about the human condition. Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead is a crackling exploration of what it means to stay afloat in a world where your exploration and the exploration of those you love is the only certainty. Nice. Then on the 2nd of September, we've got a new book by Maggie Nelson coming out. This is called On Freedom. It's always very difficult to kind of sum up what Maggie Nelson's books are like, but it's going to be a deep dive into what freedom means and what it has meant historically in many different contexts, both personally and also as a society, or many different kinds of society. She says that she explores how we might think, experience, or talk about freedom in ways responsive to the condition of our day. And then finally, also in September, we have a new novel from Sally Rooney called Beautiful World, Where Are You? Which, I mean, you may have written this blurb if you've read any Sally Rooney without actually reading the blurb before saying it's about 4 friends who occasionally sleep with each other and make a mess of their lives. I loved Conversations with Friends because it's a bit of an homage to Frances Ha, which is one of my favourite films ever. If you haven't watched it, Greta Gerwig is amazing. It is so funny. Definitely watch it. Near the end of Conversations with Friends, the characters are watching Frances Ha. Normal People, it wasn't really for me. And I think that's the opposite of most people who like one of her books. Normally, people tend to prefer Normal People. I get it. She writes very annoying characters that are quite despicable, very privileged and don't realise it and constantly make a mess of things. She's kind of like Moshfegh in that way, and that's really not for everybody, but I'm hoping that this one is going to be more like Conversations with Friends and that I will really enjoy it. Okay, so those are the books that I wanted to talk to you about today. I'm sure by the end of next month I will have discovered even more books that I'm excited about that are coming out in 2021 that I would like to share with you. I myself have a new book coming out in September as well, and I'll be able to talk to you about that soon, show you a little sneak peek, show you the cover. It's looking beautiful, so hopefully I can do that soon. I hope you're all doing okay, and I will speak to you later. Lots of love. Bye.